Today we're diving into something way too many of us secretly battle every single day: social anxiety. That weird internal bug that turns completely normal situations into boss-level challenges. The moment you step into a room, your heart starts glitching, your brain starts overthinking like a broken computer, and suddenly just existing around people feels like a mission impossible. But here's the twist: you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. Social anxiety is not a personality trait, it's not just who you are, and it's not a life sentence. It's a misunderstanding inside your brain, a survival instinct gone rogue, and today, we're gonna decode it, dismantle it, and build the skills you need to take control back. In this video, we're breaking the whole thing down scientifically, rationally, and practically. Zero fluff, zero superstition, zero, just think positive, nonsense. Step by step, we'll go through why social anxiety happens, how your mind exaggerates danger, and the real-life strategies to shrink that fear and build unshakable confidence. Whether you freak out while ordering food, avoid group conversations, or feel judged 24/7, this video is basically your roadmap to leveling up socially, not overnight, but for real, durable, long-term change. So buckle up, take a breath, and stick with me till the end, because once you start understanding how your brain works and how to push back logically, everything shifts. You'll realize you're capable of way more than your fear wants you to believe. Let's get into it. Understanding what social anxiety really is. Social anxiety isn't just being shy or introvert coded. It's that weird glitch where your brain goes full red alert the moment humans enter the chat. You can be totally normal alone, but suddenly, in a group, your mind hits panic mode like you're being chased by a T-Rex. Sweating, overthinking every breath, rehearsing sentences, and still fumbling them. It's wild how the brain can exaggerate simple situations like ordering food, speaking in class, or meeting new people. The first step to overcoming it is being brutally real with yourself. This isn't a personality flaw or weakness. It's just your brain misinterpreting harmless situations as threats. Once we start defining it properly, it becomes less personal and more mechanical. Think of anxiety like faulty code. Your brain wrote a script ages ago that says, people equals danger, and now it runs automatically whenever you step out. You're not choosing fear, the mind is auto-firing based on outdated data. When you see it that way, you shift from, why am I like this, to, okay, the system needs a software update. This mindset is crucial because blaming yourself just fuels more anxiety, while understanding what's happening helps you detach and breathe. Another important realization: almost everyone you meet is dealing with their own insecurities, anxieties, and personal battles. You may think the spotlight is on you, but real life isn't a stage and no one came to judge your existence. People are too busy worrying about their own hair, voice, reputation, and mess-ups to deeply analyze yours. Understanding this isn't just comforting, it's liberating. You start seeing how irrational most social fears really are. So part 1 is basically the origin story. Before we learn techniques, hacks, or exposure strategies, we need to decode the problem with a cold scientific lens. Social anxiety is your brain's fire alarm misfiring in a situation where nothing's actually burning. This awareness doesn't eliminate the fear overnight, but it gives you a logical foundation. So instead of drowning in feelings, you start observing them like a scientist. And trust me, that shift hits different. Why your brain freaks out: evolution, biology, and miscalculation. Your brain isn't acting dramatic for no reason, it's literally running ancient survival software. Thousands of years ago, being rejected or judged by a tribe wasn't just embarrassing, it was life-threatening. If your group didn't like you, boom, you're kicked out, and your odds of survival tanked. That fear of, what will others think, comes straight from that era. Social acceptance used to equal survival. Today, rejection just means an awkward moment or a cringe memory, but the brain still acts like you're about to be eaten by wolves. Understanding this evolution glitch helps you detach emotionally from the panic, because it's not you being weak, it's biology being outdated. Social anxiety also connects to how your amygdala behaves, the part of your brain that scans for danger. In socially anxious people, it's basically overcaffeinated, seeing threat where there's none. Someone glances your way, brain says, danger. You stumble on a word? Catastrophe. Hormones spike, heart races, breathing goes weird. Meanwhile, your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, takes a backseat and becomes useless in that moment. It's like handing the steering wheel to a terrified toddler instead of the calm adult. Once you understand this mechanism, you stop blaming yourself and start figuring out how to train the toddler to chill. Another layer. Your brain learns from experiences. If you've had awkward or embarrassing social moments, maybe people mocked you, ignored you, or you froze during a class presentation, your brain stores that as evidence. Next time, it recalls that memory and rings the panic alarm faster. This becomes a loop. Fear causes avoidance, avoidance prevents positive experiences, and the lack of positive evidence reinforces the fear. Breaking that loop becomes the mission. So instead of seeing anxiety as some mysterious emotional storm, recognize it as a biochemical prediction error. Your brain is trying to protect you using outdated logic and old memories. Once you start looking at it like a glitching system instead of a character flaw, you reclaim power. You're no longer at the mercy of feelings. You start learning how to override them. Learning to take back control of your thoughts. One of the biggest traps of social anxiety is the internal narrative running in your head. You know that overthinking voice that goes, "What if I mess up? What if people judge me? What if I embarrass myself?" That inner monologue feels like facts, but it's actually just speculation running wild. The human brain loves to predict worst-case scenarios because it thinks fear equals protection. The problem is, 99% of those predictions never come true. So step 1 in taking control is realizing that thoughts are not reality. They're suggestions from your brain, not commands you must obey. A powerful hack is to start observing your thoughts instead of automatically believing them. Imagine your mind is a browser and your anxious thoughts are just pop-up ads, annoying, loud, but totally ignorable when you recognize what they are. When an anxious thought appears, instead of spiraling, mentally label it. That's anxiety talking, or, cool story, brain, but not true. This tiny shift makes a massive difference because it pulls you out of the emotional storm and back into logic mode. You're no longer the actor drowning in the scene. You become the narrator watching from above. Another thing that helps like crazy is questioning your fear instead of running from it. You can literally ask yourself, what's the worst that can actually happen? And when you go through the logic, you'll see most fears fall apart instantly. Stutter while speaking? People forget it in 10 seconds. Say something awkward? Humans do that every day. Don't know what to respond in a convo? Nobody cares. Reality is far more forgiving than your anxious brain makes it out to be. When you push your brain to replace irrational, what if, thinking with evidence-based logic, anxiety loses the fuel it feeds on. The more you challenge your anxious thoughts, the weaker they become. Not instantly, not overnight, but repeatedly. Social anxiety grows in silence and avoidance, but it shrinks when exposed to truth. By stepping into observer mode, labeling your thoughts, and applying logical questioning, you start reprogramming the mind. Instead of being dragged by every panic thought, you slowly become the one steering the wheel. And once you realize you have that power, everything starts shifting. Exposure beats avoidance, even when it feels scary. Avoidance is one of the sneakiest things that keeps social anxiety alive. The moment you dodge a situation, skip a party, stay quiet in class, avoid eye contact, you feel temporary relief. But that relief is a trap. Every time you avoid something, your brain learns, oh, dodging humans kept us safe. Let's avoid again next time. Boom, loop reinforced. That's why anxiety doesn't naturally fade, it grows stronger the more we avoid. The insane paradox is, the only real fix is walking into the discomfort instead of running away from it. This is called exposure, and it's basically showing your brain the real world is not actually dangerous. Exposure doesn't mean doing something extreme on day one. It's a staircase, not a cliff dive. Small actions count. Maybe start with a simple, hello, to a shopkeeper. Next, ask someone a basic question. Then speak one sentence in class, join a convo for 30 seconds, or share a mild opinion instead of nodding quietly. These might look tiny from the outside, but for an anxious brain, they're huge recalibration moments. Every successful exposure, even if it wasn't perfect, acts like a software patch telling your mind, see? You didn't die, no one hated you, the world stayed normal. What's wild is how quickly the brain can adapt when given real evidence. If you expose yourself enough times, the amygdala literally stops firing as aggressively. It relearns what is safe and what's not. You start building receipts instead of fears. Real memories where social stuff went okay, people reacted normally, and nothing catastrophic happened. And when your brain collects enough positive data, anxiety has nothing left to stand on. You're replacing fear predictions with lived reality. The truth is, confidence doesn't appear magically before action. It grows because of action. You cannot think your way into feeling brave, you have to act your way there. Exposure is basically controlled bravery. You choose small battles, you push just slightly past comfort, and you let your nervous system experience success. Over time, the monster shrinks. Even the fear that used to feel huge becomes background noise. And before you realize it, situations that once felt impossible suddenly feel casual. That's the power of stepping forward instead of backing off. Stop trying to be perfect, nobody is watching you that closely. Social anxiety often comes from overestimating how much people care about your actions. We feel like there's a giant invisible camera recording every stumble, every pause, every awkward sentence. But real talk? Nobody has that kind of time or attention span. Humans are way too busy obsessing over their own flaws to track yours. Most people are wrapped up in thinking about how they sound, look, or come across. Understanding this kills a huge part of anxiety instantly. Your mistakes don't live rent-free in anyone else's brain. Another thing holding a lot of us hostage is perfection pressure. We want every sentence to land smooth, every joke to hit, every response to sound intelligent. But that's not how real conversation works. People mispronounce words all the time. They lose track of their thoughts mid-sentence. They forget names, say weird stuff accidentally, or laugh at the wrong moment. And no one thinks twice about it. Imperfection is literally the default human setting. Trying to freeze and over-control everything only makes you stiffer, quieter, and more anxious. The best thing you can do is allow yourself to mess up. Not just tolerate it, expect it. If you go into social situations with the mindset that awkwardness will happen and it's fine, suddenly the fear loses its power. When you drop the act of trying to appear flawless, you relax. Your body language loosens up, the mind stops running 100 background simulations, and you start behaving naturally. Ironically, that's when people like you more, because authenticity beats perfection every single time. Here's the secret most confident people know. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being okay with imperfection. When you're cool with being a work in progress, social anxiety has nothing left to weaponize. The audience you think is judging you? They don't even exist. Just humans vibing, fumbling, and figuring stuff out, same as you. Drop the perfection chase and suddenly social life feels way less like a performance and way more like a conversation. Mastering body language that calms your brain. Social anxiety hits both mind and body, and sometimes flipping the switch physically can drag your brain along for the ride. When you feel nervous, your body tends to shrink, shoulders tense, back curls, eyes drop, voice gets tiny. But here's the hack. Your brain reads your physical posture as a signal. If you stand small, your brain assumes there's danger and pumps more anxiety. If you open up, shoulders relaxed, chest up, slow breathing, your brain starts going, "Oh, cool, we're safe now," and turns the panic dial down. Posture isn't just a confidence display, it's a cheat code to regulating fear. Eye contact is another big one. You don't have to stare like an NPC glitching in a loop, but just meeting someone's eyes briefly signals your brain that the situation is normal. Break it naturally when you need to, then return. Micro eye contact moments build confidence fast. Same with voice control. When anxiety hits, we talk fast, mumble, or rush sentences to escape the moment. Slow your speech by just 10 to 15%. It instantly makes you sound more confident, even if you feel like a shaking modem internally, and gives your brain a second to chill. Breathing is the most underrated tool in the game. A single slow breath can literally stop a panic spiral. Anxiety gets worse when breathing becomes shallow, because lack of oxygen tells your nervous system something is wrong. Try inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 2, and exhaling for 6. This kind of controlled exhale signals safety faster than any positive affirmation ever could. You don't need a meditation mat or candles or Zen mode. You just need one calm breath in the moment. And here's the cool part. Every time you consciously fix your body language, straight back, relaxed shoulders, grounded feet, calmer voice, you're teaching your nervous system a new response. You turn fight or flight mode into, we're chill. You don't have to feel confident first. Act confident physically, and your brain fills in the blanks. Eventually, your default posture becomes more open, and social anxiety starts losing its grip. Not because you forced confidence intellectually, but because you trained your body to lead the way. Rewriting your identity. You're not the shy person forever. A sneaky reason social anxiety sticks around is identity. When someone lives with anxiety long enough, they start seeing it as part of who they are, like a personality trait instead of a temporary state. You might catch yourself thinking, I'm just shy, I can't talk to strangers, I'm bad at conversations, or I'm awkward. But those aren't facts, they're labels your brain slapped on itself based on past experiences. The second you accept those labels as truth, your brain keeps acting according to them. Identity becomes a cage, and your behavior stays trapped inside it. Here's the reality check. Your identity is not fixed. Brains are plastic, they change based on habits, exposure, and environment. People reinvent themselves all the time. The confident version of you already exists. You just haven't trained your system enough to unlock it. The only difference between the person who freezes socially and the person who thrives socially is repetition, comfort building, and mindset. You weren't born anxious. You learned it, and anything learned can be unlearned with better input. Start catching the self-talk that reinforces your old identity. Every time you think, I can't do this, challenge it with, I'm learning how to do this. Swap, I always mess up, with, sometimes it goes awkward, but I'm improving. These small phrasing shifts sound like nothing, but they rewire your brain toward growth instead of doom. Your brain follows the stories you tell it, so feed it narratives that expand your potential, not shrink your confidence. The fun twist? The more you act like the version of yourself you want to become, even if it feels fake at first, the faster that version becomes real. Fake confidence isn't deception, it's rehearsal. Every time you speak up, stay in the moment, or initiate a conversation, you're casting votes for the identity of a socially confident person. Over time, those votes stack until your brain updates your self-image. You stop saying, I am socially anxious, and start thinking, sometimes I feel anxious, but I handle it. That shift is low-key life-changing. Building social skills like a blueprint, not luck. A lot of people think social confidence is some natural talent you're either born with or not. Total myth. Social skills are skills, which means they can be trained, refined, and built step by step. Just like coding, gym gains, or learning a language, the more you practice, the smoother you become. Social anxiety often feels huge because we assume others just get it, while we're out here lagging behind. But even the most confident people started awkward, stumbled through conversations, misunderstood cues, and slowly leveled up through repetition. The best way to train social skills is to break them down into small, learnable components. Start with micro skills. Greeting someone confidently, making small talk, asking follow-up questions, or remembering names. Each one is like a mini quest. You don't have to master all of them at once. Pick one, practice it in low-pressure moments, and stack success from there. Over time, these tiny improvements add up into a huge upgrade in how you handle social life. Another clutch skill is curiosity. When you're anxious, your brain is hyper-focused on yourself. How do I sound? What do they think of me? Flip that. Become genuinely curious about the other person. Ask questions, listen actively, and look for connections. When your attention moves outward instead of inward, anxiety automatically drops. You realize conversations aren't tests. You're just exchanging vibes, stories, and experiences. You don't need to entertain, you just need to engage. And remember, silence isn't failure. A pause in a conversation doesn't mean you ruined the vibe or exposed your awkwardness. People pause all the time. You can look around, breathe, or restart with a new topic. Treat conversations like a game, playful, unpredictable, and non-serious. The more you detach from the idea of being judged, the more fun social interactions become. When you start viewing social confidence as a skill you're building on purpose, you stop waiting for confidence to magically appear and start engineering it yourself. Build a support system and environment that helps you win. You don't have to solo speedrun the journey out of social anxiety. Your environment plays a massive role in who you become. If you're constantly surrounded by people who judge, mock, or ignore you, your brain will obviously stay in defense mode. But when you deliberately place yourself around supportive, chill, open-minded people, even if it's just one or two, the shift inside you hits different. Positive environments normalize talking, sharing, and being yourself without fear. Finding your tribe doesn't always mean a big friend group. It could be classmates who vibe with your humor, coworkers who make you feel included, or online communities where you can freely express your thoughts. Social comfort grows fastest when you feel accepted. Every safe interaction acts like proof to your nervous system. Yo, social life isn't a battlefield. And the more positive proof you stack, the less power fear has over you. Also, don't underestimate the value of role models, real or virtual. Watch people who communicate well. Study how they start conversations, how they ease tension, how they laugh off awkwardness. Confidence leaves clues. You don't copy them 100%. You remix what fits you and turn it into your own style. Social confidence isn't about becoming extroverted, it's about being comfortable in your own skin wherever you are. Lastly, be patient with yourself. Social mastery isn't a sprint, it's reps, exposures, wins, and little setbacks. Some days you'll feel like a social butterfly. Other days you'll want to crawl back into your hoodie and disappear. Both are normal. Progress isn't linear, but the trend will always go up if you keep showing up. Build your environment like an ecosystem that supports your growth, people, spaces, routines, and your brain will eventually sync to it. You're not meant to grow alone. Turning progress into a habit for life. Overcoming social anxiety isn't a one-time achievement, it's a lifestyle shift. You're basically retraining your nervous system, rewiring your beliefs, and upgrading your identity. That takes consistent effort, not one motivational moment. The real key is turning everything you learned into habits. Keep challenging yourself, engaging with people, and taking up small social opportunities even when you don't feel like it. Every repetition strengthens the "I can do this" muscle until it becomes your default. Momentum is your best friend. Once you start collecting wins, introducing yourself to someone new, holding conversations, sharing your opinion, or staying in a room longer than your anxiety wanted, you build internal evidence. This evidence becomes your ammo against intrusive thoughts. On days where anxiety tries to whisper, "Stay quiet," you can clap back with receipts. "Nah, I've handled this before. I got this." Confidence stacks, brick by brick. Another underrated hack is tracking your progress. Journal your attempts, your tiny victories, and your awkward moments too. Seeing the journey on paper makes your growth impossible to ignore. What felt terrifying a month ago might feel routine now. This reflection keeps your brain from defaulting to negativity and reminds you how far you've come. Bonus: it stops you from giving anxiety more credit than it deserves. And the biggest truth? You don't need anxiety to vanish completely to live confidently. Confident people feel nervous too, they just don't let the fear drive. Your goal isn't zero anxiety. It's controlled anxiety. When you start showing up despite the shaky hands, sweaty palms, or racing heart, that's the moment you stop being controlled by fear. You start leading your life on your terms. And eventually, your brain adapts so much that things you once feared become your new comfort zone. You're rewriting your story, not as the person who avoids life, but the one who steps into it with clarity, logic, and courage. And the best part? This journey compounds. You grow socially, mentally, emotionally, and your future self becomes someone you barely recognize, in the best way possible.